Hey everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on ServiceLink Flex. My name is Matt Hasty, and I'm part of the team here at Texada. And without further ado, let me pass off the reins here to Paul and John.
Good morning. My name is Paul Phillips, and I'm a product consultant for Texada. I have 32 years in the dealer world, and I'm very excited today to partner with John Fennell and show you ServiceLink Flex, and I'll let my partner John introduce himself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Fennell. I'm the senior product consultant on the service side with Paul. I've been in the dealer community for 27 years. And
sorry. Got it, John?
no, I'm good.
Okay, very good. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. And I just got a couple slides before we get into the demo. Thank you for taking the polls, the two poll questions today. That helps us as we're gearing towards through our presentation today. So again, as Matt had mentioned before, if you have some questions, feel free to raise your hands. We want to make this very interactive. And I am going to shut off my camera so I'm not distracting to the demonstration. And I'll share my screen. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen the Minute Thieves presentation, Technician Productivity, just wanted to share a few slides. For those who have seen it, this will be a little redundant, so I apologize for those who might have seen this. But when it comes to technicians at dealerships, technicians are the bread and butter, right? Technicians, as technicians are going out and trying to get things done, there's a large cost. There's a large sell dollar value to the customers, for your customers. Well, minutes make a big difference when it comes to technicians. And what you see on the screen here is just various things that can take away some time. I call them minute thieves that can take away time from the technicians. I got physical things, finding tools and ordering parts and cleaning up, and got some electronic things as well, such as, or maybe not electronic things, but adding labor to a work order, getting customer information, communicating internally. And for today, with ServiceLink Flex, going to identify a few of those with ServiceLink Flex. ServiceLink Flex is the mobile application to ServiceLink. And if I included ServiceLink, we would have some more green circles on this as well. Why is minutes important? Because minutes matter. Minutes matter. Just a real brief slide here. You can take a look at this slide and you can see just putting an average wage for a technician, 30 bucks an hour. Let's say an average sell price of $150 an hour. If that technician had 15 minutes a day, well, that 15 minutes a day is $37.50 in potential revenue. Man, that's not too much. That's not a lot of money. Well, when you times that by, let's just take a round number of 100 technicians, and you take a look at working 5 days a week. Let's assume, obviously 4 weeks a month. That's $75,000 in potential revenue. So minutes, when it comes to time, minutes do matter, and wanted to point that out. And this next slide, this is what we're going to talk about today. Matt, again, keeping me on time. John and I are tag teaming this, so whatever questions I can't answer, and any interjections that John might have, we want to make sure we address everything that comes up in today's webinar. So what you see on the screen right now is just an agenda. I wanted to hit the big bullets for ServiceLink Flex for those obviously that haven't seen it. But a technician being able to see their schedule, adding hours to a machine, A lot, when it comes to work orders, when it comes to the business, trying to get hours onto a machine and get that into the system can be cumbersome depending on the processes that dealers have in place today. Adding time to work orders so that things can be invoiced. Adding notes, that's a big deal for technicians because that's what feeds the service reports. Blogging, that's something that is pertinent to our product here, just internal communication. Adding pictures to a work order, that can be cumbersome depending on different processes and things like that. So those are the big rocks. If we have more time, we can dive into a few other areas within ServiceLink Flex, but I wanted to at least get this list in front of you to show you what we'll be talking about. Questions, thoughts, comments before we get started? Anybody, if you want to raise your hand or just
You're doing
interject.
fine, Paul.
Thank you, John. Okay, what you see on the screen here is the mobile app ServiceLink Flex. And again, when it comes time to scheduling, I'm going to show you a quick preview side by side. Let me get out of this. Let me get out of this screen here. The screen on the left is the ServiceLink Flex app. The screen on the right is the ServiceLink app. And Austin Sheely is the technician that we're going to emulate on our web version. We're dragging and dropping work orders onto Austin for the various days, as you'll see here. But I wanted to just show you a reference of whatever's dropped here shows up here. Now, there's other work orders for Austin, but these are on other days. So for today, there's only 3 work orders here. So I'm going to go back to my screen here. And this is just today's. So when a technician lands with ServiceLink Flex, they'll land looking at today's schedule. So the first thing that a technician should be doing is logging in, getting that schedule. They're in Wi-Fi mode, they're in cellular range. And we'll talk offline capabilities briefly a little bit later. But they'll get today's schedule. If the technician wanted to see a schedule in the future, what's going on for tomorrow, clicking this link on the bottom gives you the days up here, and you can click on the day, and it'll show you up on the 28th. There's only one day one job that's scheduled for the 28th. You'll see these other 2 work orders down here, non-chargeable time, and different dealers will structure their work orders differently and have different segments. And I'll just give you a quick insight into that. And you can see some of these descriptions on this particular monthly work order where a technician can put time if it's not going on a customer. If it's not going on a customer work order, you can technician can put their time on a monthly work order. So just some dealer best practices that are out there. I'm going to scooch back to this screen here. Again, as you can see here, here's the schedule for today. There's a map up here, and I'm just going to go into this top one here, Winsco, and we want to talk about just first off is the directions to a job site. You'll see this button right here, get directions. And if I click that, it allows you to use any Google Maps or Apple Maps, if you will. Those are the 2 mapping applications that are used with ServiceLink Flex. So with that, if I clicked Apple Maps, it takes me to that application, and then I can get directions to that job site. I'm going to pause there for just a minute. Any interaction with regards to schedules or with regards to mapping functionality? So far, so good.
We have no questions on the Q&A panel, Paul.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, so on this particular work order, you'll see on this screenshot right here, and I'll just get my highlighter out. this right here, this is your model and serial number of a unit to be worked on. And if I click on that particular button there, this is where I will update the SMU, the service meter units, your hour meter units. But as you can see, there's other information that's on here that's picked up from the ERP system, your ERP system as a dealer, using the equipment link portion of our product, pulls information from the system and brings it into here. If it's a connected asset, it'll bring in the current hours, but always with any work order, technicians need to validate. And if they need to change these hours, this is how they do that. I'm going to click on this SMU button right here, update SMU. It brings us to this screen. Service meter not applicable. You can click this off. Let's say it's an attachment that doesn't have an hour meter reading. You can click that off. Some dealers need to have that on because the OEM will say, "Hey, we need, even if it's an attachment, we need some type of hour indicator in there for, you know, maybe an OEM excellence program or something along the lines there." So here's where this section right here, service meter 9980, let's say I'm a technician, I go out and I see that the unit does not in fact have that. I can change it right here. I can say, hey, it's got 10,121 hours. And if it was a truck or something different that's out in the field, you can change what those are. If it's a over the road on highway truck, maybe it's miles, or, you know, if you're at another area with kilometers, you can do that, or select hours.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
Hate to interrupt, but we have a question from the audience from
Please.
Melissa. Melissa, you're welcome to unmute and ask away.
Hello, Melissa. You might be muted. I'm not picking up anything.
Melissa's question is, some of the work orders have a question mark instead of a number, and so there's no pin on the map. Can you describe why that would happen, Paul?
Yes, let's go back to this screen here. I believe this is where Melissa might be looking at. What these are right here, these indicators, if they have a question mark, there's not an address, a job site address in the field in ServiceLink. So that'll be a question mark there. If there's an address in there, then it'll have a number. And so that way, if a technician such as this one has multiple work orders, can tell which work order belongs to which location. Does that help, Melissa?
Melissa says, thank you, Paul.
Great question. Thank you for asking. I'm just going to quickly go back to this update SMU. I did not hit submit, so I'm going to retype this in here, 10,121 hours, and I'm going to hit submit. And so this will send it to the server, and as it's doing that, it'll tell you, hey, were you successful? Was the request successful or not? And it is successful, so I'm just going to hit OK. Now my SMU hours have changed. Okay.
That's a live interaction with the service ticket. So the SMU would be updated on the service ticket with the date and time that it was done. And it would also update DBS.
And John, thank you for mentioning that. Let's take a look at the ticket in ServiceLink and see, oops, I've got to get out here a little bit higher. Oops. There we go, 10,121. So I'm in the application and it's already updated it. So thank you, John, for pointing that out, showing how quickly that does update. Okay, so again, I'm in this particular work order. Matter of fact, I'm gonna jump to a different work order real quick. I'm gonna jump to this last work order here for this customer, for the CP433 for Progressive Builders. I'm gonna click on that. The reason why I want to do this one is has a lot of segments on here. So far we've covered the schedule. Technician can see their schedule. We've covered the directions, and we've covered updating the service meter. Now I want to talk about entering time. Entering time. We still have dealers out there that actually have a very manual process. Time cards, paper time cards. Those paper time cards are filled out by a technician and brought in, and then somebody has to take those time cards and transpose those into a system, hopefully just a single system rather than a spreadsheet and then from a spreadsheet into a system. But now we're talking about minutes not only for the technician, but we're talking about minutes for the folks that are entering the information. And let's say it's a service coordinator. If a service coordinator is entering the time a technician has on a work order, that service coordinator then has minutes taken away instead of being able to have that time to communicate more effectively with the customer with regards to their work order status. So if I'm a technician, I'm on this job here, and I want to enter time on a segment. I'm going to click on 8 segments here. And here's my list of segments. And I'm going to click on, let's just say, travel to and from machine. Okay, before I leave the house. Before I leave the house, you'll see this. There's a start button here. And you'll see this other button right here. This is an edit button. So there's 2 options to enter time. You can click on the start button here, or you can click on the edit button. Let's say you forgot to click on the start button at the start of the day or whatnot. You can go in and manual, and I'll show you both here in just a minute. But let's say I'm a technician and I'm leaving for the customer's job. I'm at my house. I've got my parts and everything from the night before. I'm leaving from the house. All I need to do is click this start button. And then it takes you to this screen. And within this screen, it kind of gives you the information. Hey, here's our start date. Here's the start time of when I hit the button. If there's charge codes, your dealership uses charge codes. You can select whichever charge code is appropriate for that particular job and technician. If overtime is, you have overtime options or regular sell time if you needed to do select from there. Has the sell rate, and this particular dealer has a requirement that says, hey, when you're going to add labor, you need to put in an explanation. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to bring up a keypad, and it's going to hide this area down here, but I'm going to show you after I'm done what that looks like. So I can type in my information here, but this is the button that I love. This is the button that I'm going to talk a lot about with regards to anything that is text entered on the ServiceLink Flex app, because technicians, hey, we're out there, we're out in the field, our fingers are dirty, our hands are dirty, we're trying to get, enter time, we're trying to do some different things, I can't find a pen, etc. Voice to text. Traveling to the customer site, looks like traffic is backing up unexpectedly, and I will be a good 45 minutes late getting to the job site. So that was just voice to text. It looks like it picked it up pretty doggone good. So once I've got that in here, I'm going to hit my submit button, and I'm on my way. Traveling to the job site. So I've started my labor on this particular segment. Again, what my process was before, maybe it was a manual time card entry. Maybe I had to make a note because as a technician, I'm going to enter my labor at the end of the day. Well, what happens at the end of the day? Technician has a lot of homework, and that homework turns into minutes, and minutes matter. So what I've done here is I've started my time. I'm going to go backwards to my other segments. So technician, fast forward, hour and 45 minutes because it was a long drive and traffic was backed up. And I get to the machine, and now I start now I start wanting to work on one of the segments. Well, I've already started on one segment. So do I need to go back and stop? No, I don't. All I need to do is which segment am I going to start on? And so I'm going to select segment 15. Let's just select segment 15 here. And voila, it looks the same, right? It looks the same, has the same start button and edit feature. I'm going to click on the start button here. And I'm going to add my explanation. Starting work on the starter segment. And again, this is this particular dealer has this as a requirement. So there are some configurations that you can put in place to have some things required. And this particular dealer needs an explanation. So some of it may be a little redundant, or maybe there's additional information. Maybe I needed to put on here, looking at the starter, it's at a landfill and it's packed in there and I can't get to the starter. It's going to take me a good hour to clean out just so I can get access to the starter. Maybe that's some things that I need to put in on this particular labor entry. So I'm going to hit submit here. So by doing this, now you'll see this start button grayed out, a little bit slightly different green than this edit button here. So now I've started labor on a different segment. So what I've just done is by doing this, hitting the start button from one segment to another, it stops the previous segment and starts the labor on this segment. So the technician, that's all the technician needs to do is just keep hitting the start button. Maybe there's two machines on this same job site. The technician just goes to the segment of the other machine, totally different machine, hits a start button on that, and stops it from the one machine and starts on another machine. Questions, thoughts, comments so far?
So Janet Perry has asked if all of this can be done on the mobile app and the desktop app.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. And the desktop app is right here. Let me see if I can. And because I'm maximized here, let me here we go. I'm gonna go to the technician dashboard. Now the technician dashboard, if I'm on a particular segment, the technician would have a green start button. Excuse me, the technician would have a green start button right here, right here on an operation, and then a red stop button would be up here. But on your desktop version, your green start buttons are here, and then there's a red stop button here. On the application, the red stop button is I go back out to the machine, and there's my red stop button right here. And all I need to do is click that red stop button, and it says stop labor entry. Are you sure you'd like to stop labor in progress? I'm going to select yes or select stop. And now I've stopped my labor entry. I'm going to go back into the segments because I want to show the manual entry. And that's going to be this button right here, the small button right next to the start button. Pulling that up and looks familiar. It's the same that you saw before, but this one a little different because you have a start time and you can change the start time here. Select whichever start time and select the end time. And then select your charge codes. Here's your explanation. And then you can hit your submit once you fill that out. So very user-friendly, whether you want to use the start button, or if a technician says, oh man, I forgot to hit the start button, you can use your edit feature right there. I'm going to pause for just a minute. Any additional questions, thoughts, or comments before I move on?
Nothing in the Q&A panel right now, Paul.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's talk about service notes. When it comes to service notes and technicians, well, anybody, a lot of people in general, A lot of people in general aren't the fastest typists, aren't the most accurate typists. And a lot of people will do the hunt and peck with 2 fingers, you know? So a technician's out in the field and is doing a repair. What does a technician usually do when for their service reports? Do they do their service reports while they're on site? Do they save all that for when they get home and their kids are pulling on their leg and their wife's saying, "Hey, it's time for dinner," or their spouse is saying, "Hey, it's time for dinner," and there's homework at night? A lot of different ways that technicians manage that. Here is where a technician can just click on a particular segment. I'm going to click on segment 10, replace turbocharger. Now, while I'm on this segment, while I'm scrolling down, I just want to point out, you'll see here, a lot of times it's what's really interesting is technicians have better line of sight to, hey, is this warranty? And this ties into the ERP system, and it'll tell if there is existing warranty on a piece of equipment. OEMs, SIMs required. This is for warranty claiming purposes. You can enter SIMs on this ServiceLink Flex app. This PIP, PSP, these are the service letters for an OEM, and marketing programs that are within a dealer's ERP system. Let's scroll down here. Yes.
Janet Terry of Ring Power has asked, if you're offline, will it sync up later? And I had suggested to Janet that while you can't demonstrate offline functionality, that you will refer to it later on.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, great timing. Thank you for that question. Thank you, John. This no drafts. Let's say you went out of service, out of cell phone service. You'll get an indicator. You will get an indicator that says internet connection lost. And then what it'll do is, anytime you go to enter time or segment notes, it'll ask you, do you want to create a draft? And this is where those creations are going to reside. Then when you get back into cell phone range, you'll see the list of drafts of things that it'll give you the opportunity. Do you want to modify? Do you want to submit? Do you want to sync? And that's when you will click yes or modify some things. Maybe you realized, hey, your time wasn't entered just right, or maybe your notes weren't just right. But definitely want to be able to sync that back. So this is offline capability, and that's what this draft portion is right here. Thank you for that question.
And just to follow up on that, Matt has posted in the webinar chat a link to the offline capabilities guide on our Texada software website.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Matt, for doing that. And thanks for mentioning that, John. That guide is the ServiceLink Flex training guide, and it'll have all of this functionality that we're talking about today, and really nice, easy to read screenshots, along with, as John mentioned, the offline capabilities and what that process looks like. So please click that link and bookmark it if you're interested. Segment notes. Here's where the service report comes into play. Segment notes. I'm on a particular segment. This is the replace the turbocharger segment. And I'm going to click on segment notes. So right now, here's the current notes that are on this. I should have picked a different segment, because this turbos are the ones that I like to put some additional notes on. But here is the segment notes that are currently on there. And if I wanted to add to that, I'm going to click the edit button in the top right-hand corner. And I'm going to hit my return, get to a new line. And if I wanted to type in a date, 2/27/24 space, and then I'm going to hit my voice to text. I'll be a little redundant from what you see here, but let me just voice to text so you can see this as I'm speaking. The turbocharger had all of the bolts rusted, period. I needed to cut off and drill out and retap some of the holes to get the turbo reinstalled, period. And I'm done. I really want to point this out because this voice to text, it works really well, as you can see, as I just demonstrated. And when it comes to technicians and service reports, you know, technicians, you know, they're our bread and butter, you know, trying to help cater to them and make their jobs easier. This is a huge, huge benefit, is being able to do this voice to text. And please consider, this is not only for the field, but this can be for the shop as well, because we're going to get into a couple of other features. I think we still have some good time here, but this voice to text usually ends up being homework for the technician. Well, when one day passes to the next day, it's kind of like kids in high school homework. Well, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. All of a sudden, they've got a week's worth of homework on a Friday. And then the boss is getting on them. Where's your service report? Where's your service report? There should not be any reason why service reports can't be submitted in a more timely fashion with this voice to text functionality. So all I have to do is click save. Now you saw these notes here. I'll click save. Sending information, ServiceLink. Oh man, it figures. Well, I'm on a webinar. I'm going to share this. We'll submit and go back into this. Back into my work order. Here we go. Replace turbocharger. I want to go back and just make sure that my notes got in there. Yep, here they are right here. I'm going to come into this particular work order. This one was view ticket. I wanted to just come to the notes section here. Notes section, and then this was on segment 10. Let me make sure.
It's right down at the bottom, Paul.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Had to retap some of the holes. Yep. So these were the notes that I put in for today, and they're already in there. So again, very, very quick from ServiceLink Flex into the application. Here's the desktop version where everybody in the company that has access to ServiceLink can see that. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Just a time check, Paul. You have 10 minutes left.
10 minutes left. Okay. I do want to quickly show a couple of other things. Let me back up to the actual work order itself, because down here is a photo album of attachments. Here is where a technician can take a picture, you know, of damage or of the issue at hand, and add a picture to that. I just clicked on photo album, and then in the upper right hand corner, I actually created a photo album, another one, but I'm just going to do a photo album for the webinar's purpose here. But photo album name, I'm just going to name it, just keep it simple, photo album. You might want to say, hey, engine or transmission, etc. So I'm going to create my photo album. Now my photo album's created. I'm going to click on it, and then you see this plus sign in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to I can either use my camera or I can use my photo, my photo library. So obviously if it's using my camera, I'm on my desktop here. I'm just going to take a picture of my keyboard. I'm going to use that photo. And there you go. Now I've attached this photo to this photo album, to this work order. 4 grins let's just come on over here. Let me hit refresh. Media. My photo is right there. Pretty doggone quick. So from ServiceLink Flex to ServiceLink, you can see that that information got in there very quickly. Okay, as you can see, other things on this list. I want to make sure we have time for additional questions, thoughts, and comments. But if you wanted to put work order notes, if you wanted to see the contact for this particular customer, if you wanted to review any special instructions that were on the work order, major symptoms in ServiceLink, there's a section when creating a work order that the service coordinator talks to the customer and says, hey, what are the major symptoms? And then fills out any job and component codes and fills out any additional information so the technician can do a better job troubleshooting before they even get to the job site. Down here, here's a link for Cat Interact for the Caterpillar dealerships that can access to that OEM for that particular application. One last thing I do want to show on here before open it up to questions, we got just about 5 more minutes left, is I'm clicking on the very bottom button down here where it says Actions. I wanted to show this because a lot of times, hey, I'm a technician, I need to go back, I need to look at my labor entries. I need to look at my labor entries. Well, you can do it labor entries by date, or you can do labor entries right here. And labor entries, if I like this one the best because it lists all of my labor entries and I don't have to remember any particular days, and I can just scroll and see what my labor entries were. Tells me the work order, tells me what segment I put it on. If I click on it, I can see my labor details there. If I needed to modify that, these 3 dots in the top right corner, and then I can go back, click on edit, and then I'm back to that familiar screen that we revisited before. Just going backwards by clicking in the top left-hand corner, back to actions. And again, this is my some other actions there. One last thing is unread blog. I did a test from a coordinator. These are just internal. I was just trying to, have a little bit of lightheartedness. Hey, I'm the technician sending it to the technician. Hey, bring me out a pizza. I've been here all day long. I'm getting a little hungry. That's only internal, doesn't hit the work order or anything. The service coordinator on the other end can see that. You can open this up right down here and you can see the information with regards to that particular blog. Think of blogs as internal chats, if you will.